a kid, I always knew I was going to join the military when I grew up. And I thought I was going to join the Air Force because my uncle is my hero. He was my hero. And so I wanted to be like him. When I got in the 10th grade, I met a classmate who just totally blew that out of the water. His name was Kelly Covington. And I didn't know what it was about him. I thought it was crazy. I thought he was crazy. Later on, I found out that it was called motivation. He'd go around grunting. And I was just amazed at how inspiring he was. And I started asking him questions, and he told me he was joining the Marine Corps. I didn't know what the Marine Corps was. I had never heard of it. The only branch that I knew, honestly, was the Air Force. I started doing my research, and I fell in love with the Marine Corps, and I joined. I served for 20 years, and I did 2 combat deployments and a joint task force to Cuba and a couple of other things. And one of the things that I grew, or that I learned about myself being in the Marine Corps, is I am strong. And I didn't know that as a child. I could do things, I could push myself to limits, I could push beyond my limits, not necessarily for myself, but because I knew that there were other people depending on me. And so I'm very thankful for the Marine Corps for so many things, but especially because of what it taught me about me. So moving forward, 20 years later, I got out the Marine Corps, and I have children. I have 2 sons, and we had to make some major life changes. Now I had to be okay with living in one spot and getting reaccustomed or getting associated with my family, who now I wasn't going to leave every 6 months or every year, or move them around every 3 years or something like that. I had to get accustomed to a new life, and I did, and my children did, and everything was great. But for myself, I wasn't great because I was in a foreign environment where I didn't know who I was or what I was as a Marine anymore. So I remember talking to a friend of mine, and I was crying to him one day, telling him that I felt lost. And he said, what would I do if money wasn't an issue? I said, I would help people. So, he gave me a suggestion of, what I could do for work. And I fell into recruiting. Moving forward, it seemed like my life just started to regain order again, and I started to get to know myself, and what I was doing added value to my community, and I loved it. And my friends started telling me that, that I was really good at it, and that maybe I should go into business for myself doing it. I knew I had something great to offer my community, but I didn't want to just touch on 10% of the person. I wanted to help the whole person. So I kept thinking about what was it that I could do for my community that would continue to add value, and I felt like I was being an integral part in the advancement of my community. So as things progressed, I started seeing a lot of things in the country that I just could not sit and not help. There were so many things, I saw in the news, about the unemployment rate that was continuing to fluctuate. I saw, black men being killed in the street, black women being murdered. And it was so disheartening. So what I think changed my entire life is the moment that my sons turned 18 and 21, and I realized that my sons were going to be out there away from me, outside of my home. And it scared me because I was like, how am I going to protect my sons outside of my home? So what I did was I just started looking up black-owned businesses that I knew would make my sons feel welcomed and safe, no matter where they were, whether they were in California are beyond. I just started looking for black-owned businesses that I knew would, my sons would be able to go in there and eat in peace. And as I started to do that, I started to think, this is bigger than my children. I have the opportunity to actually help people, nationally, parents nationally who feel afraid to have their children leave the house, go to school, join the military, do whatever, being away from them. And so I created a mobile app called Melanin Enterprise, and it is a social network. And what it does is, when you pop it open, a list of black-owned businesses will appear, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a hotel, a bed and breakfast, a cafe, a coffee shop, whatever it is. You will know that if you are in an area unfamiliar to you, you can pop open this app and you will find businesses that will welcome you in, and will not harass you or make you feel threatened, and they won't feel threatened. As I started to do this, I started to feel like I was actually giving something back to my country again that we needed.